Hello and welcome to Tech with Briley. Today we're going to start a new project. We're going to use the Wagtail content management system, which is built with Django in the Python language. And we're going to create a blog, but we're going to add to this blog a vector embedding feature that will embed the content of the blog posts in a vector database. And we will then use those to retrieve search results for a search page, as well as potentially a retrieval augmented generation chat. That's the roadmap. This is a proof of concept to test out Wagtail vector search. And I've got a couple of, at least one key project that this is tailored towards, but another idea for a project I'd like to work with, but I don't have any kind of agreement or arrangement with this other open source organization. Nonetheless, I want to learn this process. So we're just starting from scratch today. I've got an empty repository here on GitHub. The source code link's at the bottom of the video if you want to just check it out. See where we are by the time you're watching this video. Now I know from experience that we will need a vector database. I'll either need to use one off-the-shelf hosted cloud service or run the database locally. And there's some options for that, such as ChromaDB. But I think a good solution would be Postgres with the PG vector extension. In order to do that, it's a bit tricky. We'll have to figure that out. But I think we're going to use a dev container to get everything containerized. That means we're going to use Docker Compose. So I think what we can do is actually just go here to VS Code and scaffold a dev container. We will add a dev container configuration in this workspace. And we will use Python. We have to show all definitions. Python with, we will want Postgres. I'm just going to see what else they have here. This is an official image. I think we'll go with this one. And we will use the latest. Now, it is kind of minimum, so we will want Git. Either, I guess, from source. Huh. As needed. Okay, we don't want to build it from source if it's not needed. The dev container doesn't include Git, the minimum one, the Debian-based one. They've stripped it down, understandably. But if we're going to be running this in dev containers environment and we'll want to commit to GitHub, I think we'll need to add at least that. I think that's about it. We'll keep the defaults. And I'm going to see if we can use the PG vector. And I guess it's just latest. Did they have a latest? No. So we'll grab this one. Should be good. Hopefully these will all map to, maybe they're extending the default. So now we're going to reopen this in the dev container. Start our development there. It'll take a bit. This will be just make it easy to work with the project, get everything running locally. I don't have to install development dependencies. We will put our dependencies in, requirements text for the Python part of it. But first, I just want to test the dev environment out. So it looks like we're good. We're inside the dev container. Let's see if I can commit. And sync those changes. So good. Now people can actually just work with this project right on the web. You can open it now with GitHub code spaces with this dev container. Format, all the dependencies will be ready for you. Good stuff. Next thing is requirements text. I'll have to think about this for just one moment. I'll put the requirements in the base directory. Wagtail, I don't know if I need to specify a version constraint, but we will take the we will install the dependency post create. We need a comma there. And it'll probably be able to forward the port. So we're going to wait for this. I'll grab some water while that's compiling and installing. All right, thanks for your patience. And what we're going to do is use Wagtail to scaffold the Wagtail project, and it'll have a little bit of a different file structure. But it'll have the best, I think, settings and everything. Okay, so it looks like it was able to install those dependencies pretty quick. Now we're going to use the Wagtail docs. So let's just say, and we're going to use Wagtail vector index. I'll just open that up while that's here, because that's going to be the next step. So I'm going to close this other stuff out. We're going to be using Claude AI to help us work with this project. I've already started a chat, so we'll just probably hop over into my previous chat. And here's the Wagtail docs getting started guide. Your first Wagtail site. We might as well just follow that tutorial, I think. The documentation in Wagtail is just excellent. Not perfect, but pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. So we should have Wagtail installed. Let's double check that. If I open a terminal, new terminal, Wagtail. Ching. Wagtail. And we're going to start, we will call it vector blog or core. Let me double check this. You'll see why, but basically we're going to put the project in the app directory, and it has requirements here. So that means that we can now remove this. It's a bit of an interesting thing, but it's got a proper definition, and so what I'll need to do is just delete permanently that. Yes, and we'll need to update our dev container configuration to change it to the working directory, I think. See if this works. So it'll move into that app directory. It'll install the dependencies that Wagtail just put in there, the requirements text. It installs them real fast. The project's brand new, so kind of to be expected. So now we can just run, like, for example, let's see if this works, so we can connect to the database. So let me see here for a second. We'll need to change into the app. Manage Pi, migrate. Let's see, but the problem is that we're using SQLite, so we'll fix that one thing at a time. Okay, so let's commit this initial project. And we're going to commit to main for a moment here, just because. And here's where it starts to get a bit tricky. We're going to need to use the Postgres database. Now I can either hard code these credentials into the settings, or I can use something like DjangoDB URL. So if we look at this Docker Compose, we can see that our database service uses Postgres. So and it might be sufficient that I just hard code those, but I'll have to think for just another moment what the use case is here. We're potentially going to deploy this, and maybe at that point in time, I'll want to use an environment variable. Let's see if I can get some help. So Copilot's not installed here. Good. So now we have a bunch of those. This is sort of a recommendation. I know everybody's not going to be using GitHub Copilot. There's probably a different way I could add that to the dev container. Let's save and rebuild. Cool, so this happens in parallel. It installs the dependencies for the dev container and Python in parallel. That's good. So the main changes here, add Python. Development extensions. It's pretty fast, still pretty fast, so I'm glad to add these. Now I'd like to actually see if we can move these to somewhat like a recommended. Let's see, why isn't it working? Let's see here. So I need to sign in probably. Oh, there we go. Now there it goes. Okay, so I get it. I'll just copy this, but it did it in a weird place. So we will do it here and remove that. That should work. We'll see what happens. I recommend Copilot. It is pretty helpful. I know this is getting a lot of mixed reviews, but it's, just help speed up my development process. If you have the opportunity to work with it, they have student discounts. If you're working with a lot of open source projects, you can actually qualify for free Copilot access. So another incentive to work with and contribute to open source. Yeah, so I guess that's valid. And then what happens then? Recommended. Well, as a solo developer here, I'm going to just tailor this towards my needs right now, and I need to use Copilot. I don't need to, but yeah, actually, kind of, it's really helpful. So I'll just pop them back there, rebuild, and we'll move forward. Moving forward. So how are you doing today? Are you working on any projects? Got some kind of open source stuff? Hey, Ari, thanks for the subscribe. I appreciate it. Welcome. You doing any Python web development or working with generative AI? So actually, yeah, we'll need to hop over here for one moment. I'll grab my chat so I can show you what we're going to be cooking today. Wagtail CMS blog with vector search. I've started a chat with Claude and gone through just, in my free time, riding on the bus or whatever, you can just kind of ideate on these things. And here's the project overview. We're going to be creating a vector search blog project. So your first Wagtail site tutorial, you basically build a blog. And I need to learn, or I would like to learn, how to use vector embeddings to embed the content of a website in a way that we can use it for retrieving semantically relevant results. So we want to improve like search interface and maybe do a retrieval augmented generation chat interface. So all that's kind of outlined here: Wagtail CMS, Django, Postgres, PG Vector, Wagtail Vector Search. So here's the overview and some possible next steps. So what I'll do is I'll put this in the project README, and I'll commit that so anybody wants to check it out, they can check it out right now. It's going to be live on GitHub, and we will create some issues that people might want to take. good first issue type thing. Let me just get that space, and this is actually a better description. So we'll commit that, push that, and again, the source code is going to be available on GitHub right now, so you can just check it out. MIT license might be useful in something you're building. Okay, so let's say add Python extensions. I think that's what we did here. Reorganize Python extensions. Initial README. And it kind of describes the overall architecture. I'll push those up. You can check it out here. Yep, good to go. And we'll add a couple tags in case people are curious about this. Wagtail, CMS. It's kind of a demo project. I might turn it into a template, but that has a specific meaning. It is a blog. Django, Python 3. Hey, Dr. Unafraid, welcome. How you doing? It's good to see you. And vector database, vector embeddings. We don't need releases, package, or deployments. We'll go with that for now. So we got some Trove metadata. Just finished the day. Yeah, kind of the same. We just kind of had a good day. Went for a long walk. Did some music. Did some code. Doing some more code. Can't complain, you know. It's great. All right. All right. How's the esports channel going? Is your YouTube channel growing a bit? You know what would be interesting would be a vector search or retrieval augmented generation built with the chat, for the Twitch chat. Growing, but money is enough. That's what I've kind of heard. The YouTube ad revenue, even with some kind of big channels that I follow, like music channels, like 60,000 subscriber, kind of 60 to 100,000. They say that YouTube ad revenue just doesn't really pay the bills. It's not really a sustainable income. I don't have any firsthand experience with that, but usually I'm noticing, you're probably noticing the same. There, a lot of creators are getting supplementary income through, you know, services like Patreon, offering courses on Udemy, things like that. And so that's become, or even getting sponsored segments on their channel, perhaps. Have you checked out or considered any of those approaches? You could write a course, for example, that's relating to your content and encourage some people to check out your course, you know, and sell it for like a low cost, but you can make some good revenue maybe on Udemy. That's true. Now, what's your theme? Has your theme evolved over time? What is your main kind of focus? Yeah, so you're using your voiceovering other people's content. And you're kind of, yeah, so you're like doing analysis and reporting. So yeah, that's kind of challenging. Yeah, so you do have a clear focus. I remember it being Apex Legends. I keep forgetting the name of that game though. All right, I'm having troubles on my own channel with focus. You know, I'm kind of doing some Python, some Flutter, some generative AI stuff, you know, Wagtail CMS. So let's take the next step on this project. We might be getting ready for a feature. I think at this point, yeah, I need to connect to the Postgres database. So to do that, I was thinking we'll use Django DB. There's a way of getting it from the environment. So if I pass in an environment variable to our app service, Last night you were watching the channel. Okay, cool. Try to upload a small video with good thumbnail. All right. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out what are some just kind of small videos I could upload, and I don't know if they would be tutorials or something like that. Summary videos maybe. Oops, let's see. DB URL, Postgres, DB Postgres. Looks good. So that's that. Now to do that, we will add the Django URL, Django database URL. And I think we want to do similar pinning here as that. So greater than or equal to 0 or 2.2 and less than 3, let's say. We'll go for the whole range there. Now that's good. Save that. And then with the other thing, psychopg2, actually it knows. But we're going to use psychopg2 binary. Can we do that? Hey Reza, welcome. Thanks for the subscription. I appreciate it. It's nice to have people to hang out with, so welcome back. You doing any web development or open source stuff? Whoops, I just typed a button. Okay. To binary. Yeah, okay, so it's the same 2.99. That's interesting. 1 to 2 terabytes. No, let me get caught up. What you talking about? I'm afraid. Here we go. Any idea where you can buy physical storage server? Okay, 1 or 2 terabytes isn't enough for me. Do you need the storage to be cloud attached? Like, what's the use case? That'll help me understand. 2 terabytes is quite a lot. Dang, what are you doing? Storing Apex Legend videos, I suppose. All right, so now we're gonna actually have to make one change to our app. So here's what I did earlier when I created the app. I told it to create an app directory and I called it core, so that we would have all of our core settings in the core directory. It was just a little hack that I learned, because I like to have core settings in the core directory, and instead of saying Wagtail start my site, then everything goes in the my site directory. It's just kind of weird. I like to say core. It's just a preference. But then you have core settings, core static, core, etc., etc. What we'll need to do is import okay, so wait a minute. I changed the dependencies, requirements, so I need to actually rebuild. Containers, so we'll have the DJ database URL. Okay, something like HDD or SDD. It's true that Java devs removes PSVM, public static void main. I have no idea, but that sounds painful. I don't like the PSVM myself. I'd go see a doctor about that. I'm a bit thirsty. I'll be right back. Wow, here we go. Yeah, I just, like, if name is main is already kind of weird, isn't it? All right, so we got the dependencies installed. Now I should be able to import DJ. There it is. Now we can come to our database settings down here. We want to convert this to Postgres. I'll use my magic wand to modify that. Something like that. Let's see if that's a specific enough prompt. So it's already got that. We can discard this change. Or not. Let's just go with it. So that didn't help, actually. This one, so I'm hoping I can get some help with this change. Maybe I'm typing more than I would if I would just do it myself. So let's try this. So cd into the app directory. It's able to apply the migrations. It didn't create a SQLite, or did it? Did it? Delete permanently. Good to go. All right, I think we're cooking with gasoline. And then at this point, we're going to start the project. I'll create a branch. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at this SDD HDD thing and see what we can find. So I still didn't understand. Do you need cloud attached storage, Dr. Unafraid, or is it like something you need to like local, like on premises? That's a lot of storage though. It's not enough. Crazy. And just out of curiosity, what is the type of data that you're storing on these? Local storage. So it's got to be in your physical presence. That's not my forte. I don't really know, to be honest. I have most of my work is just with cloud services and running things, you know, on servers, web development and things. Video most of the time. Yeah, so it sounds like you're needing one thing that kind of comes to mind. I don't remember if it was Black Magic. No, but that's cool looking. Nope, that's cool too. What are these, 8 tracks? Wow, the buttons. That's too hardcore probably. There was just this really cool. Wow, and then they got mini discs. They went from 8 track to mini disc. Yeah, I've been using DaVinci Resolve a little bit. It's pretty dang good. I don't know what I'm doing, but I like it. They do have some like 20 terabyte arrays, but yeah, it was something like this that I was thinking of. That I was looking for some storage a while back for my like virtual instruments and music, and I just needed like 4 terabytes. I don't even probably need that. 2 terabytes is actually, to be honest, enough. But I remember coming across these type of deals. BH photo video, and you can just swap in your storage on one of these. What is the general? It's just a 5-bay US3 B3 RAID. What are they called? an array. And then you just put whatever, you know, hard drives you want in there. You can use SDD, or I guess this is HDD. And yeah, and what's your budget? But something like this might be good, and I'm not going to paste this. Yeah, and when you're using the video stuff, you probably want to use SDD. So I would grab something like this. I don't know if that's what your budget is, but you know, array bay in the month of May. I'm sneezing from all the hay. Something pretty cool looking. What do you think? Would that fit your needs? And then you just pop in, you know, a couple 2 terabyte hard drives or whatever, and you kind of scale it as your needs grow. Sounds cool. Budget's flexible. Yeah, so like 129. The big expense is probably going to be your hard drives, but even those are pretty cheap, I guess. Getting cheaper. Okay, so let's grab the blog. Let's start the blog. You ready for this? Creating a blog, isn't that exciting? All right, bloggy. My first Wagtail site. Did that. We'll create a super user. I like that. Django makes me feel super. My name is VS Code. Why does it do that? I gotta fix that. Very common password. It's my super secret common password. And we'll have a dancing egg in just a moment. Open in browser. Port mapping is good. There is the beautiful Wagtail egg of happiness. Wagtail. It is good. It is really good community and project. I mean, I've just had a great experience working with Wagtail. So there's that. We can log into the admin. Okay, Dr. Underfoot. Hey, it was nice to see you around again. Have a good evening. Hope you get some good rest. And hope you get your hard drive needs met soon. So now we're going to go to the admin section and log in. Whoa. There we go. So now we have the Wagtail admin, and you can define pages. Here's the home page. It doesn't have anything on there. I can edit the home page, but it doesn't have any fields. It's really generic, but Wagtail is this really flexible content management system, kind of like WordPress, but built in Python, Django. So it's like 10x WordPress in my opinion. And it has really temporary features. It's got a similar editing interface as WordPress, which is block-based content management, but it has some advanced things like you can preview your pages in different devices to see how it looks. It's got editorial flow, commenting, accessibility checks, readability checks. All this is just built in. It's such a great content management system out of the box. And we're going to improve it with vector-based search and chat. So let's take the next step. I just got to go through this tutorial. So we're extending the homepage model under the home models. So that will be under the home app models.py. And we will just copy and paste this stuff so I don't have to like make typos, sit here and make typos for you all, 2 viewers. All right. And then, I don't know why they did that. And then we make a migration. We added a body field. and applied that migration. So now the database schema has been updated, the actual structure of the data. And if I edit the home page again, when the server is running, reload the page, we now see I can put something there. But here's the catch. We're not done yet. Publish that change. Notice that you have moderation flow. I can submit for moderation approval. I can save a draft. And if I view this page live, we're going to be disappointed because, well, we have a nice blue dancing egg. So I guess that makes up for my disappointment. But I expected, maybe my text will appear there. Okay, well, that's the next step. So there we did that. We can edit the home page. But now we need a template. Copy and paste code. Home templates, this is my best code. It's copy and paste. From Stack Overflow, from GPT, from Claude, from tutorials. But you got to know what we're doing, right? We have to know a little bit about a little bit. And that is the art of copy and paste. And it looks like we can just delete a bunch. But wait, not everything, not everything. Edit it to contain the following. So I have to look for this extends base HTML, that's there. Load Wagtail core tags, not there. By adding this. So the tutorial is actually pretty helpful. And kind of hold your hand a little bit. Body class is there. But we need to replace everything below with this. All right, just being very careful. Everything below the body class. Now, this is, a bit wrong. Because the body class is up here, and well, we may or may not want extra CSS, so it's not quite as straightforward as that. It's really just this. We need to display the page body field, but since I'm using a rich text editor, it's a little bit subtle, but when I'm editing the home page, I can actually use some formatting. I think here it is. When you highlight text, you get like this rich text formatting, so it's actually kind of cool. Muy. The title is home, but the title level 2 is muy. We'll publish that change. Now when I view it live, there we have it. And our base template is just very plain, so it doesn't contain any other styles or navigation menu or anything like that. So we're just going to get a plain muy, muica, moro, mitakulu. But one thing we can add is no, just for this page title, but in H1 tags. Now if I refresh, we have the name of the page, home, and the header level 2. And that all corresponds with exactly what we see here. That's cool. So I can say welcome. Save that. View live. Boom, everything is working and I'm wired up. So let's do this. Let's commit these changes. And I'm going through the tutorial, so I'm just going to kind of commit and push everything. Oh, I'm in the blogging branch. I'm already in the branch. We will open a pull request. My magic tool. I'll create that as a draft. So everything will be on GitHub. You can check it out as we go. We'll go to the next step. All right. So they're telling me about these things. I'm not going to read everything on stream because I've kind of gone through this. I've been working with Wagtail for about 6 years now, and had a great developer experience. It's very robust. I'm just trying to create a demonstration project, so we need to get this thing rolling a bit. And what we'll do now is add a new Django app. Wagtail's built with Django. Manage Pi, start app, blog. So Django app is like a self-contained folder of files. It's a Python module. Here it is, and it contains some specific files. We won't probably use all of these, but you have database models, some tests which are important, views to retrieve and modify and render data to various formats like JSON responses or templates that are then returned to the user, an administration interface, things like that. So those, we're all, you get scaffolded by Django. We're running that command, and database migrations go here. So when your database changes, you can smoothly navigate forward and backwards between versions of the database structure, keeping the history. It's really helpful, and a lot of times we sort of miss that in greenfield projects without a content management system and an ORM like Django. You have to like invent that. You're like, oh, the database structure actually changes over time. Dang, should use MongoDB. No, really, but I think Postgres is your first resort, and then just be comfortable with migrations. Because in MongoDB, yeah, you can change it, but you still have essentially migration code running in your application. Every time you interact with the database, it sort of needs to handle exceptional data structures that may date back years to where the schema has implicitly changed, and you haven't manually migrated the data, and you don't have any migration support because we were convinced that we didn't need schemas. All right, nonetheless, let's now go to our course settings, and then the base settings. What we're going to do is just add our blog app as the arrow. So friendly. So hopefully it points out, and that can just be added here alphabetically. Now this allows Django to introspect the code and kind of run some commands on it. We will create models, so then Django can find those models and create database tables from them and all sorts of good stuff. It's really helpful. This is not Wagtail specific, just Django stuff. So we're going to create an index page that's going to list all of our blog posts. It'll have an intro field with some rich text. Again, you can do formatting, and in the template, we will need that rich text. We'll pipe it to this rich text helper, and basically this is HTML, and it could be insecure. We don't know the source of the HTML, so by default, Django won't render that HTML unless you pipe it to a helper that says, okay, this is safe and it's actually rich text. So we don't want the raw tags, we want to render it like it would be. So we're going to make migrations, which are just basically instructions for Django to tell the database, okay, we're going to now create a change in the structure. We're going to give it this is the previous migration, and it's coming directly after one of the Wagtail core migrations, in fact, which is interesting, because we should have had the home page migration there. Anyway, I don't know. All this is done automatically, so we don't have to worry about it. We're going to create a new table in the database, calling it a model here, and the name of that's that, and it's got some structure, and that's all. And it's based on, it inherits from the Wagtail core page. So all this, we don't have to worry about. It's done for us by running this command, but then we need to apply it. Boom. So now our database structure has changed. I don't have a database explorer to show those changes in the user interface, but we'll just trust that they were applied. Now we're going to create a template, so I'll copy and paste this. This is a bit of a weird one, but you have to create a templates folder. And since the window didn't have focus, I need to do that again. Now the index page isn't an actual blog article, it's just a listing page of blog articles, which is common in blogs. So we're going to use Wagtail features, such as the rich text tag here and there. So we need to load those Wagtail core tags. It's going to have a class appended to the body. And inside of our content, we will render the title of the index page as well as the introduction. And then we're going to iterate over the page children, which will be blog posts. We're going to create those in a minute. And we're going to render each of those in H2, so they're using proper markup. Nice. Proper semantic markup. And we will look at this in a moment, what those are doing, but it's going to render essentially the blog content. Get children is because Wagtail uses a tree and puts all the content somewhere in that tree, and the index page is a node in the tree, and then all the blog pages will be children, direct descendants of that. Now we're going to create blog page. We have to do this carefully. So we're going to import the Wagtail search index so that we can have a good search experience, and then add a new model definition blog page. And we'll notice that we won't notice that we'll have to define where these can be defined. We'll create those migrations. Apply them, and then create a template for the blog page. And it does that one. For some reason, when the window doesn't have focus, even though I can click in VS Code and like start to create a new page, the cursor doesn't go into it. I think it's to do with Mac, how it manages the windows and the window focus, because I was over here perhaps for a moment copying that page. I interacted with this browser, and then technically VS Code doesn't have focus in terms of the window, active window. It's not an active window. So when I do something over here, like create a new file, and I try to type, it's now getting the active window because right click doesn't activate the window. I don't know, it's kind of annoying. So now we have a template for blogs page, and this is the interesting thing. We didn't actually define any constraints, but they're showing me how to manually create a child page of the blog index page. So let's run the server. We will go to the Wagtail admin. We will create a page, child of, I'm thinking they're going to say child of the welcome page, which we didn't actually create. Yeah, so I just skipped over these steps. Create the child, the blog index page is a child of the welcome page. Pages, welcome. Yeah, so this is weird. Add child pages there, but when I go here, oh, right there. Let me double check here. Create the blog index page. I think the docs are a bit outdated. Yeah, so it's to clip the ellipsis. It's like the add child page, but they've moved it in a recent release. All right, publish that. Now I have the blog, then this ellipsis should have an add child page. So yeah, blog page. Post it today. So Wagtail does all of this. You notice how I'm not writing any of this. Wagtail handles the admin interface for me. And then we'll say body text. Can go on and on. Publish. So now I can view that live. I can view the blog, and it shows me the blog page. And so now we have a basic working blog looking good. So yeah, basic blog, no kind of CSS, nothing like that. And they're talking about the parent and child relationship. They're iterating over the children and rendering details and a link, a hypertext link, anchor to the page URL, which is a Wagtail tag that automatically generates the URL. So all the URLs is handled for us this here, and I can return to the blog. That's handled for us. You notice they use all this stuff. I didn't have to write down the URL. Really cool. And when you start writing more customized Wagtail code, you'll find a whole set of queries and modifiers to help you navigate the hierarchy. Get children, get ancestors, get descendants, get siblings. Overriding context. So we might want to show the latest blog posts first on the blog index page instead of the oldest ones. So we will order them by first published at. So if I go to the blog models and I just check really quickly, blog page, it doesn't have a first published at. Maybe that's a Wagtail page. So we will go to the blog index page as shown here. Under the intro, we're going to add a get context method. I'll add it under the panels definition. We want to make sure, as I mentioned, that there's a publication workflow. You can have things in draft state. So we don't want to show the draft articles, and we want to reverse chronologically sort them and then pass this blog pages to the context, which is the data that gets rendered to the template. I can save that, and I'll make sure our blog index page, we're not going to go full into the images and things. I just need to get a basic, some kind of text on the page. And check my blog page template. So, or sorry, blog index page. Instead of get children, we'll say for post in blog pages. It's the same now, except we're passing this list of pages in our context, which again is like a dictionary of data that you want to use in the template for various reasons. But basically the blog should still work. It's just that if I edit this page and I set this to an older date, like 20, and then I create a new child page, blog page. I set that to today's date. And I publish that. We can view it live, and here's the post. I return to the blog. Now we have the newer post up top, reverse chronological sorting. Okay, so this is actually a really good starting point. It's been about 1 hour. I'm not going to go through the full tutorial, but this is just an example of the developer experience in Wagtail. The documentation is excellent. The code and semantics are very clean. It's under continual development and improvement. so much attention to detail, not only the developer experience, but the user experience and the Wagtail administrative interface. So I can't recommend Wagtail enough if you've got a content management style project. And we may want to add authors, but at this point, I just want to test the vector search for the content field. But it does make sense. And this is where most projects are using relational data, and this is kind of a big foot gun that we experience with kind of schemaless databases. They threw away the schema, and they threw away a lot of mechanics around relational data. And you know, with the idea that, oh yeah, you can nest data, you can have denormalized data, so you can copy data across multiple documents, things like that. I just think really start out with as normalized data as you can. Start out with Postgres if you can. On most projects, 80% of projects just are relational, and either going to have data that is related to other data, blog pages that are related to authors. You'll get so much stuff that's just handled for you if you start out with a relational paradigm. And using a CMS like Ruby on Rails, Laravel, Django, something like that. I haven't found one in the JavaScript ecosystem. I've been looking, but I haven't found really like a Ruby on Rails, Django, Laravel level maturity and number of contributors project in JavaScript. And I think it's part of the maybe the ethos of JavaScript is about like continual reinvention and sort of this hierarchy of experts invalidating prior knowledge and the search of self-aggrandization. I don't know. I'm a bit disgruntled about JavaScript ecosystem, but here we are. I think I can call it good. They have tags to organize the content, but we're going to focus in on search and vectorization. We'll do that in another stream though. It's a very basic blog. I'm going to do something unpopular. I'm going to use Bootstrap. I know I just dated myself. And I'm going to use it from an SDN, what is that? Because it's CDN, good grief. Just want something that looks kind of nice, that's responsive, and I'm going to move on. And it's mature and under continual development. So if we go to our core, templates, base, based. Here it is. This is the one I want. And we may need the JavaScript. Should come before the global. This can be indented. And then all we're going to do is just kind of refresh the page. We already get a nice little, a little bit nicer aesthetic and text. You know, it's a basic HTML page. I don't have high expectations, but if we put it in a container in the base HTML, so we wrap everything in the block content in a container. Where is it? I am having scroll blindness. Here it is. a nice block. Indented block, and it's mobile, responsive, stuff like that. Which HTML, raw HTML is already mobile responsive without any kind of CSS. No way. All right, cool beans. All right, so we've set up a blog. I've committed an atrocity by installing Bootstrap. But I kind of swear by Bootstrap. It's been around for so long, and it is under continual development. I know this is what I'm talking about, the mentality of throwing out things because they've been around, a legacy, so to speak, insisting on like the new thing is the better thing because it's newer. That's not true, and it wastes so much effort. Bootstrap is under continual development. It's been having continual releases, 89 releases. It's still making major improvements using modern HTML and CSS features. It has so many contributors. It is tapering off, but a very slow rate. But let's take out just the 2024 contributors. Let's see. Dependent bots. So yeah, not as much, but there are multiple committers with, it is diminishing significantly. Only 2 with over like 20, let's say. 2023 was it looked a little bit better. You know, well, we're halfway through, but it had an MDO, I think, was one of the key maintainers. 2023 had, let's see, about 5 people maintaining it. Okay, let's see Tailwind. Just for comparison, and I'm not harshing on Tailwind. I just don't want to introduce like a build tool to precompile CSS, and I don't like this sort of Tailwind style. It's my own little problem, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't use Tailwind. But let's just check out the contributors. Maybe it's a similar boat. Tailwind also had a pretty big dip here. In 2024, it has 3 people with over 20 commits, let's say. So it's kind of on par with the number of contributors we're seeing in Bootstrap. 2 contributors in Bootstrap in 2024. So yeah. And I don't want to go through, you know, changing or checking out a bunch of other CSS frameworks. I think right now we're just going to use one mobile responsive friendly framework that doesn't need a build tool and just kind of move on, because this is not about CSS framework. It's about vector embeddings, which is going to be the next part. So thanks for checking out this stream. Maybe we can switch this to dark mode. Does Bootstrap have a built-in dark mode? Probably not. It has one. It does have one if I put it on the body. It does. Or on the head. Or HTML, I think, right? One-liner. Look, no build tool. One line change. Boom! That's actually pretty nice. Easier on my eyes. That's all. I just don't want this big flashlight in my eyes while I'm developing this project. So great. We've got a pull request open. I'm syncing the changes, and we will merge these if you want to check the code. For the initial blog tutorial, 195 lines change. We're ready for review. Go ahead and merge. And in the next session, we will work on the vector embeddings. Delete the branches, check out main, and sync the changes down. Well, I appreciate your time. Hey, Dr. Unafraid, it was good to see you, and thanks for stopping in. I hope everyone's doing well. Have a great day.